Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, wondering if you'll have enough money to truly enjoy your retirement years? Not just survive, but thrive. Maybe you've worked hard for decades, raised a family, paid off a mortgage, and now you're looking ahead asking, what comes next? Or maybe you're just now realizing that time flew by faster than expected, and planning for retirement feels a bit overwhelming. You're not alone. Retirement planning isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet or sitting in a financial advisor's office. It's about building a future you can look forward to, one filled with purpose, stability, and peace of mind. And here's the good news. It's never too early or too late to start making smarter decisions. The freedom to retire, well, isn't just for the wealthy or the lucky. It's available to anyone who's willing to be intentional and take a few practical steps today. Now, why does this matter so much? Well, according to a study published in the Journal of Aging and Social Policy, financial insecurity is one of the top 3 causes of anxiety in people over 60. And here's something even more eye-opening. Those with a solid financial plan are nearly twice as likely to feel confident about retirement, regardless of their income bracket. So in this video, we're going to break it all down. No jargon, no complicated charts, just real-life strategies that can help you take control of your money and your future. We'll talk about the most important tips for achieving financial freedom in retirement, starting with the foundational habits and ending with the mindset shifts that can truly change everything. And before we keep going, I'd love your help with something. If you're enjoying this video so far, comment Y below. If not, comment N. It helps me know what's working and what to improve. And don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't yet. Now let's dive deeper. Let's start with something most people overlook: understanding your spending patterns. It sounds simple, but I've seen so many people think they need to make more money, when really, they just need to know where it's going. A friend of mine, let's call her Mary, retired at 65 with what she thought was a decent nest egg. But 2 years in, she realized she was burning through her savings much faster than expected. When we sat down and tracked her spending, she was shocked to find that little things, a daily coffee run, impulse buys, extra streaming services, were quietly draining her resources. What Mary learned, and what many of us need to, is this: your spending habits today are your financial freedom tomorrow. Awareness is everything. Start by writing down every single expense for a month. Yes, every single one. This gives you a realistic view of where your money goes and helps you cut what doesn't serve your future. Now, once you know where your money's going, the next step is building a reliable budget. But here's the twist. Instead of seeing a budget as a restriction, think of it as a roadmap to freedom. When you know what you can spend on travel, hobbies, or gifts for the grandkids without worry, you feel more in control. And that's empowering. One powerful approach is the 50-30-20 rule. It's not just for younger folks. You allocate 50% of your income to needs, like housing, utilities, and healthcare, 30% to wants, fun, hobbies, leisure, and 20% to savings or debt repayment. Even if you're retired and living on a fixed income, applying a version of this rule can help keep spending in balance. If your needs take up more than 50%, that's a sign it's time to revisit those areas. Maybe it's downsizing, negotiating bills, or looking at health plans more closely. And speaking of downsizing, it's one of the smartest, yet emotionally challenging moves in retirement planning. I met a couple, Tom and Linda, who decided to sell their 4-bedroom home and move into a cozy, single-level condo. At first, they were hesitant. It was the home where they raised their kids, hosted holidays, made decades of memories. But after 6 months, they were glowing. Less maintenance, lower property taxes, and guess what? They freed up over $200,000 in equity. That money gave them breathing room, and even allowed for a few bucket list vacations. Now, I know not everyone wants to sell their home, and that's okay. But the lesson is about being open to creative ways to stretch your retirement income. Sometimes the best move forward requires a little letting go. Downsizing isn't about loss. It's about realigning your life with what truly matters in this chapter. Let's also talk about the idea of passive income. It might sound like a buzzword, but for retirees, it can be a game changer. Whether it's rental income, dividends, or a small online business, having even a modest stream of income coming in, without trading time for money, adds a layer of security and confidence. One woman I know started selling handmade crafts online after she retired. She didn't make millions, but she pulled in enough to comfortably cover her grocery bills. And that's a win. As we wrap up this first part, think of today as the beginning of something powerful. You don't need to have all the answers now. You just need to be willing to take the first step, whether it's tracking your spending, reviewing your budget, or having an honest talk with a financial advisor. Remember, financial freedom isn't a final destination. It's a way of living with intention. In the next part, we'll look at some of the financial pitfalls many retirees don't see coming, and how to avoid them. We'll also talk about healthcare planning, taxes, and protecting your savings from inflation and unexpected expenses. These things can sneak up on anyone, but with a little preparation, you can stay ahead of the curve. Before we begin, I want to make one thing clear. This video is for informational purposes only and is based on publicly available research. Everyone's financial situation is different, so always consult your financial advisor, tax professional, or legal expert before making any major changes. The financial world is always evolving, and what works well for one person might not be the best option for someone else. Now let's keep going. In part 1, we talked about the importance of understanding your spending, using a realistic budget, and exploring ways to build flexibility, like downsizing or adding passive income streams. But today, we're diving deeper into some of the hidden pitfalls of retirement, the ones that sneak up when you least expect them. Let's start with one that's incredibly common: underestimating healthcare costs. According to Fidelity's 2023 retiree healthcare cost estimate, the average 65-year-old couple retiring today can expect to spend around $315,000 on healthcare throughout retirement. That number is staggering, but even more concerning is how many people don't plan for it. Medicare is a fantastic support system, but it doesn't cover everything. Things like dental, vision, long-term care, and out-of-pocket prescription costs can add up quickly. I remember chatting with an old neighbor, John, who retired at 62. He thought he was covered, but just a few years in, he was shelling out hundreds every month on medications and physical therapy. He said to me, "If I'd known it would cost this much, I would have planned differently." So what can you do? First, explore supplemental insurance options. A Medigap policy or a Medicare Advantage plan could fill in some of those coverage gaps, depending on your needs. Second, consider starting a health savings account, HSA, early if you're still working and have a high-deductible health plan. Contributions are tax-deductible, the money grows tax-free, and qualified withdrawals are also tax-free. That's a triple win. And then there's long-term care, something we all hope to avoid, but should plan for anyway. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 70% of adults over 65 will need some form of long-term care during their lives. That could mean help at home, in an assisted living facility, or even full-time nursing care. It's not fun to think about, but planning now can prevent financial and emotional strain later. Some people choose long-term care insurance, while others set aside a designated portion of their savings. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here. The key is to include it in your plan instead of assuming it won't be necessary. Another major pitfall? Taxes in retirement. Many people assume their taxes will go down, but that's not always the case. Depending on your income sources, like Social Security, pensions, investment withdrawals, or part-time work, you might end up in a higher bracket than expected. I knew a couple who thought they'd done everything right. They'd saved in their 401k, paid off their house, and retired debt-free. But when they started withdrawing from their retirement accounts, they were hit with a much higher tax bill than they expected. It wasn't because they were careless, it was because they hadn't factored in how their income would be taxed. Here's a quick tip that can help: diversify your retirement savings. If all your money is in tax-deferred accounts like a traditional IRA or 401k, you'll owe taxes when you take it out. But if you have some in a Roth IRA, which is funded with after-tax dollars, those withdrawals are tax-free. Even having some savings in a regular brokerage account can give you flexibility in how you manage your taxable income each year. And let's not forget inflation, the silent budget buster. Over time, inflation erodes your purchasing power. What costs $100 today might cost $130 or more in 10 years. That might not sound like a big deal, but over the course of a 20 or 30-year retirement, it adds up, especially for fixed-income retirees. That's why keeping at least a portion of your investments in growth-oriented assets, like stocks or mutual funds, is important, even in retirement. I'm not saying go all in on the stock market, especially if that stresses you out, but a well-balanced, diversified portfolio that includes some growth can help your money keep pace with inflation. Now, one of the most overlooked parts of retirement planning is estate planning. And no, it's not just for the wealthy. A good estate plan ensures your wishes are honored, reduces stress on your loved ones, and can help minimize taxes and legal fees. At the very least, you need a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare directive. These are basic documents, but they make a world of difference. I once met a woman, Susan, who told me that her father didn't leave any instructions when he passed. No will, no power of attorney, nothing. What followed was months of legal headaches, paperwork, and family stress, all of which could have been avoided with a few simple documents. If it feels overwhelming, start small. Set a goal to get one document done this month. Then schedule the next. And don't be afraid to ask for help. There are affordable services and professionals who specialize in guiding people through this process. All of this might feel like a lot to take in, but remember, planning is about taking one step at a time. You don't need to figure it all out in one afternoon. Even small actions, when done consistently, can lead to big results. In the next part, we'll dive into something even more personal: how your mindset, your emotional relationship with money, and your sense of purpose can make or break your retirement experience. Because financial freedom isn't just about numbers, it's about how you feel when you wake up each morning. Are you fulfilled? Are you connected? Are you living with intention? That's what we'll explore next, and I can't wait to share some powerful stories and strategies with you. Let's take a deep breath together for a moment. Because retirement planning isn't just about bank accounts and budgeting. It's about building a life that feels full, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And for many people, that part is harder to plan than the financials. I've seen it happen over and over again. People retire, expecting the golden years to feel like a vacation that never ends. But after a few months, the novelty wears off. Suddenly, the days feel long. The purpose they once found in work, raising a family, or contributing to something greater, is missing. This is where mindset comes in. If you want true financial freedom in retirement, you also need emotional freedom. You need to feel confident, valuable, and engaged, even if your paycheck has stopped coming in. There's a concept in psychology called purpose continuity. Studies have shown that retirees who maintain a sense of purpose, whether through volunteering, mentoring, part-time work, or creative pursuits, live longer, healthier lives. In fact, research from the University of Michigan found that older adults with a strong sense of purpose had a 15% lower risk of early death. Isn't that incredible? Now let me tell you about George. George was an electrician for 40 years. He loved his work, the routine, the people. When he retired at 67, he thought he'd be happy playing golf and relaxing. But after 6 months, he felt lost. So he started volunteering at a local high school, helping students with trade skills. He lit up every time he talked about it. He said, "It's like I'm getting paid in smiles and thank yous." George didn't just find a new activity, he found a new why. That's what I encourage you to think about. What gives you that spark? What would you do for free because it fills you up inside? Financial freedom means nothing if your days feel empty. So whether it's gardening, teaching, painting, writing, or simply helping others, you deserve to make time for what fuels your soul. Now let's talk about the emotional side of money. Even when someone is financially secure, fear can linger. What if the money runs out? What if there's another recession? What if I become a burden to my family? These are real concerns, and it's okay to acknowledge them. But here's something powerful to remember. Worry thrives in uncertainty. The more clarity you have in your plan, the less power fear has over you. That's why I always recommend creating a peace of mind file. It's not fancy, it's just a binder or digital folder with key documents, budgets, account info, insurance policies, wills, and a letter outlining your wishes. It's a gift to yourself and your loved ones. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, don't go it alone. Talk to a financial coach. Not just someone to crunch numbers, but someone who can walk with you emotionally through this transition. I've seen people go from terrified to empowered in just a few sessions. Because once you take that first step, asking questions, gathering your documents, reviewing your options, you start to feel in control again. And speaking of taking control, I want to revisit one idea from earlier: creating flexible income streams. You don't need to earn a fortune, but a little extra income, especially from something you enjoy, can be both financially and emotionally rewarding. I knew a woman named Marlene who loved to bake. After retiring, she started a small home bakery selling muffins and scones at the weekend market. She didn't do it for the money. Though that was a bonus, she did it because it gave her structure, joy, and connection. And guess what? Her Saturday mornings were booked out months in advance. Whether it's consulting, crafting, pet sitting, or starting a YouTube channel sharing your wisdom, yes, you. There are so many ways to keep yourself engaged and financially supported. Now, let's not ignore the emotional hurdles that sometimes show up when planning finances with a spouse or partner. Retirement can bring unexpected tension, especially if one person is a saver and the other is a spender, or if you have different visions of what retirement should look like. If that's you, start with one honest conversation. Talk about your dreams, your fears, your must-haves and nice-to-haves. Make it a partnership, not a power struggle. I've seen couples completely transform their retirement experience by creating a shared vision board. They printed pictures of places they wanted to go, experiences they dreamed of having, even how they imagined their home would look. Suddenly, it wasn't about spreadsheets, it was about life. The same goes for single retirees. It's just as important to talk to someone, maybe a trusted friend, adult child, or financial professional. You don't have to navigate this alone. Let's also acknowledge that aging comes with its own emotional and psychological shifts. Sometimes we feel invisible or less valued when we're no longer in the workforce. But your worth doesn't end when your job does. You have a lifetime of experience, resilience, and wisdom, and that's priceless. As we wrap up this section, I want you to ask yourself a different kind of financial question. What kind of life do I want to wake up to every day? Forget the numbers for a moment. Picture it. Do you see yourself traveling, gardening, learning new skills, teaching your grandkids how to cook, playing guitar on your porch? That vision is the heartbeat of your financial freedom. And every budget, plan, or investment choice should serve that life, not the other way around. In the final part of this video, we'll pull everything together. We'll recap the biggest takeaways, explore small steps you can take right now, and leave you with a final dose of inspiration to carry forward. Because no matter where you're starting from, whether you're on solid footing or just beginning to figure things out, you deserve to live with confidence, purpose, and joy. So here we are, my friend, the final stretch of our journey together. If you've made it this far, give yourself a pat on the back. Seriously, just the fact that you're investing this time and energy into planning a better, more confident retirement, that tells me a lot about your spirit. Now let's take a moment to breathe and look back. Over these past few conversations, we've talked about more than just money. We've talked about freedom, the kind of freedom that lets you sleep peacefully at night, wake up excited for the day ahead, and feel proud of the life you're living, no matter your age or income level. We've explored how to assess your retirement expenses with clarity instead of fear. We've looked at strategies like downsizing, creating flexible income streams, managing debt wisely, and investing with long-term vision. We've also talked about the deeper side, emotions, purpose, mindset. Because retirement isn't just a financial transition, it's a life transformation. And now, I want to leave you with some small, yet mighty, steps you can start today. Not tomorrow, not next year. Today, start by writing down your 3 biggest priorities for retirement. Not just save more or spend less, but real vivid goals. Maybe it's traveling to Ireland, or finally finishing that book you started writing years ago, or simply staying in your home as long as you can while remaining healthy and independent. When your goals are specific and personal, your financial plan suddenly has a heartbeat. Next, set up a regular money date with yourself, or with your partner if you're sharing the journey. Just 30 minutes a week to review your spending, look at your accounts, and check in on your goals. Trust me, you'll be amazed at how much control you'll start to feel. And here's something that sounds small but makes a huge impact. Practice gratitude. Yes, gratitude. Studies show that people who regularly practice gratitude have better financial habits. They're less impulsive with spending and more likely to make wise, long-term decisions. Why? Because they're grounded. They're focused on what truly matters, not just what's trending or urgent. One of my favorite quotes comes from author and researcher Brené Brown. She says, "What separates privilege from entitlement is gratitude." Isn't that powerful? No matter what your retirement looks like, leading with gratitude shifts your whole experience. Now, let's not forget the science. A fascinating study from Harvard followed people over decades to discover what makes for a happy, healthy life. You know what they found? It wasn't wealth or fame or even physical health alone. It was relationships. The quality of our connections, friends, family, community, matters more than anything else when it comes to longevity and fulfillment. So, as you plan for financial freedom, make sure you're also investing in your social life. Reconnect with old friends. Join a club. Volunteer. Invite someone over for coffee. That richness is just as important as your retirement account. And finally, let's talk legacy. What do you want to be remembered for? What lessons do you want to pass down? What values do you hope your children or grandchildren carry forward? Because no financial plan is complete without thinking about your legacy. It's not just about money, it's about meaning. That could mean leaving behind a family recipe, writing a letter of life lessons, or teaching a grandchild how to budget. These are the things that outlive us. These are the treasures that truly matter. So wherever you are right now, whether you're 55 and still hustling, or 75 and enjoying the rhythm of retired life, know this: it's never too late to take charge, to dream bigger, to make a change, to live with purpose and peace. You are not behind. You are right on time. And your future? It's still yours to shape. We'd really love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions for future topics or questions you want answered, write to us in the comments below. We're here to help, and your input could inspire our next video. And if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on more practical tips for healthy aging. Here's to living your best life at any age.